so about 4 or 5 years ago now. It was the first time I actually went on a plane. Before that, I did a fair amount of trips with my family or with friends, but it would always be a road trip. It would always be in a car. And I never actually left the continent, obviously. In a car, it's going to be pretty tricky to do that. But we would go for family trips to Saskatchewan. We'd take a family trip down to California. We'd take a family trip to Seattle. We'd go to, my parents like to gamble, so we'd go to Reno or to Vegas. I remember I went to San Francisco at one point, and we went to Alcatraz. It was a really exciting trip. But for me, for whatever reason, we never took a plane. So once I finally decided that I wanted to go on a trip with my friends, we took a plane to Vegas for the first time, which is quite the place to take your first plane trip. There may have been a little drinking involved. It may have been a little bit rowdy. We went on a bachelor party. So for that trip, it was an interesting experience. It made the choppy plane ride a little bit difficult, especially on the way back. But recently, I took my first trip to the East Coast. I went to Florida for a wedding. And as part of that trip, I took a plane from Victoria to Toronto, did a small layover in Toronto, and then went from Toronto down to Florida. It was the longest flight I'd been on. As I said, I haven't left the continent, so this was I think it all worked out. It was about 10 hours worth of flight, and I'm not the best traveler on a plane. I think it's probably just because I didn't have any experience growing up with it, so I guess the shaking, and I get a little bit of vertigo and a little dizzy, so that made it a little bit iffy, but I made it. So in Florida, I went for a wedding, but I also decided as part of this trip I wanted to experience the East Coast and do some of my, I guess you call it a bucket list item. For starters, after the wedding, I went to Disney World, which I had always wanted to go as a kid, and it never worked out sort of timing wise. But we went an entire day at Disney World, and luckily enough, one of the bridesmaids in the wedding party was able to get us tickets to Disney World as her family works there. So we got to go to Disney World, got to go on all the rides, got to do the fast pass where you don't have to wait in line. So it was a really good experience the entire day. I didn't realize that Florida has sort of they get torrential downpours out of nowhere. So she had packed us a bag full of just sort of random snacks and just sort of anything we need for the trip. But there was a poncho in the bag, and it was a 25-degree day, I believe, that we went, and I was very confused as to why we needed this poncho. And sure enough, at about 8 o'clock at night, it just went to a lightning storm, a torrential downpour, and I was very happy that she had thought ahead and brought that poncho for me. So that was an excellent part of the trip. I also went down to spring training, the Major League Baseball League. They do their spring training down in Florida. So I went down, I caught one of those games, which I had always wanted to do as well. So that was a big part of the trip. Lastly, the wedding. Well, I guess not lastly. Firstly, the wedding was. I ended up, when I first arrived in Florida, I was told sort of last minute that I would be doing the best man role. Our best man that was going to be coming for this trip decided he couldn't end up coming to the States. He had some sort of issue where he couldn't go to the States. That's as far as I'll get into on that one. But so once I got down there, they decided that I would be the best man. So with that came a best man speech. And for me, the reason I'm in Toastmasters is that I have a bit of an issue doing speeches. But even the first few months of being here and doing the impromptu table topics and just sort of random speeches, it gave me a little bit more confidence to be able to do the best man speech and be a lot less worried. Of course, as with most people, I was nervous during the day. The wedding was later at night, so during the day I was a little bit frantic about it. But once I got to the speech, I was probably around a 10-minute speech. It's nice because I one of my good friends, so I knew a lot about everything about him, obviously. But I realized while I was doing the speech that Toastmasters really helped me to be cool, calm, and collected for the speech. So coming back, I ended up having to take 3 different flights home, 3 different connector flights, so it took a little bit longer. There were some delays. This was during spring break down there, so there was a fair amount of delays on the flights. But all in all, the trip was a success, and I'm looking forward to doing more trips in the future, more flights in the future, and hopefully I want to try and go to possibly New Zealand or even Australia. Thank you.